On our next look into our NFL draft player profile, we're going to take a look at Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts. Now, it's no secret the Bengals just hired Al Golden, defensive coordinator of the Fighting Irish. And, a lot of people are basically taking a bunch of his players and trying to plug and fit and see who fits into Al Golden's defense, which is expected, obviously, when you add someone who is recently removed from, a dominant defense such as the Fighting Irish. But Xavier Watts is a guy that I think makes a lot of sense for the Bengals. The Bengals had poor play all around at the safety position. I mean, just downright horrendous. Especially when you look at the free safety spot. Gino Stone left a lot to be desired there. His pass coverage grades were terrible according to PFF. His run defense, he was ranked, second to last out of safeties against the run this year. It just left a lot to be desired. And you got to ask yourself, with a guy like Xavier Watts who dominated right at the college level, coming into this year's draft, knowing Al Golden's scheme, obviously things are going to change being in the NFL, but you got to ask yourself, does the fit make sense? And I think it makes sense. Listen here. His overall grade, right, was an 89.76 out of 912 eligible safeties. Listen, those numbers are, first and foremost, that number is extremely high according to PFF, right? But it gets better. His pass coverage grade was an 89.511 out of 860 eligible safeties. His run defense grade 79 and a half. So when we talk about a complete player, right, and you turn on the tape and you watch a guy like Xavier Watts, what you see is a guy that can make plays in the run game, a guy that can make plays in the passing game. He's versatile. That's one thing that I have written down on my notes when watching him. We're talking about 466 snaps at free safety, 306 snaps inside the box, even played in the slot, 174 snaps. Xavier Watts is a guy that's been used all over Al Golden's defense. And when we talk about communication, knowing the different nuances, right, and how this thing should tick, I expect Xavier Watts, a guy that Al Golden has praised in the past, to be fitting almost like a glove in Al Golden's defense. I look at it, man. You look at a Bengals defense that really struggled. Especially with their pass defense this year, they could use an uptick, right? They could use a guy that's going to come in there and a guy that they could build around, right? And that knows the system. So I think Xavier Watts makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons, but you got to ask yourself, it's not just that simple, right? Because are you spending a premium pick like the 17th overall pick on Xavier Watts? I don't know if you do that because I think there's going to be a lot of names on the board. But what I do think, I think it creates an interesting dialogue. And obviously, Al Golden hasn't been on the job too long, but he's got some critical decisions to make. What do you do with a Gino Stone, right? What does Gino Stone's future in Cincinnati look like? I don't know what the answer to that is. What I could tell you, right? His coverage grade being a 53.7, 74th amongst 96 eligible safeties in the NFL, putrid. Run defense grade, 485 and a half, 92nd amongst 93 eligible safeties, putrid. Geno Stone left a lot to be desired from the safety position. He started to pick things up as the season went on. And, I talked about it in previous videos. With Geno Stone, you get a guy who I think his football IQ is there. I think he's extremely intelligent. But I do think if you get a guy that's not playing as freely and doesn't really trust what he sees out there, if he's not making that split second decision and trusting his own intelligence, I think sometimes he gets caught. The lack of athleticism starts to show up on tape with a guy like Geno Stone. When he's decisive, he's making plays. But it's the indecisiveness. Too many times we caught him hesitating, right? We saw quarterbacks taking deep shots, and Geno Stone was in the frame, but just wasn't quite able to make up the ground. And it's because of the indecisiveness. With Xavier Watts, when you turn on the film and you watch Xavier Watts, you get a guy that is decisive, a guy that he seems comfortable in the defensive scheme. He knows where he is supposed to be. Now, for me, if there's an area of concern for Xavier Watts, it's to me, I feel like he's a little stiff. They could be a little more fluid in his hips, personally. But I think he makes up for that, right, with his intelligence, with his decisive, and with knowing Al Golden's defense. So, with a guy that is truly a Swiss Army knife and has been used all over that defense, does he make sense in Cincinnati? Does he make sense for Cincinnati? Bengals have a lot of fixing to do on the defense. Where does it start? Does it start in the safety room? Is communication, right? Is it important for Al Golden to have a familiar guy in Xavier Watts in that room learning? I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. Would you guys want to see Xavier Watts in a Bengals uniform? Does he make sense for the Cincinnati Bengals? Do you guys want to see the Bengals draft him? If you like more video content like this, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from TWSN Studios.